Hi, this is Cameron back again to show off part of my vinyl collection, this time with albums starting with the letter T. We get started right away. So the first album in my collection that starts with the letter T is Lou Tabakin, a jazz saxophonist from 1977. Then a folk artist I've seen at our folk festival from the UK, who also sings with Maddie Pryor and the Silly Sisters. This is June Tabor, Akaba. This came out in 1988. You just double check that. Yeah, 1988. I mentioned in one of my Desert Island videos that this band from Haiti, which plays compa music, is one of my all-time favorite albums that I would like to have if I only had to choose my top 50. This is Tabou Combo, Inflacion, The Masters. This came out in 1975. Talks about how to survive and, if possible, keep partying during inflation, rampant inflation, like people were suffering during the mid-70s, especially in developing countries like Haiti. Another Tabou combo, this one called Zap Zap, and this originally came out in 1981, I believe. Let me just see. 1991, excuse me. Don't like this one quite as much as the Inflacion, but I have to give it some more listens in order to get familiar with the songs. This is an album I really haven't given a chance to, but when I looked it up on the internet, it calls it an Australian classic with frantic, scratchy music. So this is Tactics, My Houdini, and this came out in 1980 originally. I think this is a reissue. Yeah, from 1986. Excuse me. Then a French prog band with members of Vietnamese descent. Tai Fung. This is called Windows. Originally came out in 1976. Good African collection of music from Zimbabwe, but somehow is missing one of the most famous one, which is Oliver Mtagutsi. But this is called Takeover Zimbabwe Hits on Shaniki label from 1987. This has got artists such as Kwenda Mbiri, Tarira Naguva, BP, John Wenda, Dixon, George Midiwa Wangu, Chipendani, Pamburi Navajiri, Wapenga Nayo Bonus, Katarina, and Namayo. Trying to grow my African collection. I've got a big collection of African music, maybe close to 500 albums on CD, but on LP I have a very limited collection. Wayne Tabor and the Melting Pot, Dues to Pay. This came out in 1969, and it's funk. Haven't given this a good listen yet either. From Bermuda, some old calypso music from the mid-50s. I believe this came out in 1957. The Talbot Brothers of Bermuda, Calypsos. They were one of the leading bands of calypso music in the later 50s, mid to late 50s. Next up, from 1985, some UK synth pop, talking drums, Reassembly. This I picked up when one of our local stores, which was heavy into imports, was going out of business back in the late 80s. Of course, what collection would be complete without Talking Heads? I've got a couple. Unfortunately, some of their later stuff, I'll have to pick up some of their earlier music. Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues, 1983. Of course, David Byrne is brilliant. And the way he puts together his different rhythms and lyrics. And then also, I believe this is their last album, Talking Heads Naked, from 1988. The next up are the Tall Boys. Wednesday Addams' Boyfriend. This came out in 1984. You can see originally I got it for $4.99 sale price. Very famous folk artist within Canada, Ian Tamblyn. This is a self-titled album that came out in 1976. Then an album from 1983, Ian Tamblyn Band, Dance Me Outside. A little bit of blues. I like blues in my collection, but I have to say again, it's a lot more limited than I'd like. This is Tampa Red. Don't tamper with the blues. This is a reissue that came out in the early 80s. Originally it came out in 1961. Chicago Blues, I believe. Yeah, Chicago-born artist. Also, what collection would be complete without any Tangerine Dream? And unfortunately, my albums are later albums. Logos Live from 1982. And Live Miles, Tangerine Dream in Concert in Albuquerque, Mexico and West Berlin, Germany from 1988. Some tango music. Tango que me hiciste mal y sin embargo te quiero. Some more Latin music. Some from Venezuela. Tania, Insuperable. Not sure when this came out. Probably in the 70s. Picked that up when I was living in the Dominican. Tania y Hugo Blanco y su conjunto. As I said, I like to have a real variety of music, and I have a big collection of ethnic music. What I don't have such a big collection of is classical music, except for a large amount of classical music I got from our library at the university where I work. So first of all, Giuseppe Tartini, 12 sonatas. You can see it's got the barcode still. From Finland, some progressive rock. Tassavelin Presidenti, Milky Way Moses. This came out in 1974 and included Jukka Tolonen. I've got some Jukka Tolonen solo albums. Also, Jukka Tolonen also played with Wigwam. Got a couple of their albums as well. This is the only Tassavelin Presidenti album I have. Then some Irish blues rock with Rory Gallagher. Taste. This is a budget sampler. Supposedly he toured regularly in Canada and came to my city a number of times, but I just didn't pick up on it at the time. I didn't know who Rory Gallagher was when he toured through Winnipeg. And then finally, Taste, the best of. So I don't have the first two albums, but that's something for me to look at in the future. Probably have a lot of the songs between these two collections. That's it for my albums. It's my albums that start with the letter T. I'm going to continue on. I probably will have about 10 different videos of albums that start with the letter T, maybe even a little bit more. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments at the bottom, and I'll try to respond to them as quickly as possible. Have a good day.